Hey, it's me, Steph from Happy Place to Grow. I'm here at home, and this is video number 3 in my winter activities series. Now, in video 1, we talked about making paper snowflakes. You know, as you're getting back from Christmas break, it's January, it's cold, it's dark, and you're going to have to slip in some fun and exciting activities and get that learning in too. So I always love to talk about and open up when I get back about the season of winter. So I shared with you a really fun way to share the facts with your students and make paper snowflakes. In video 2, we talked about, again, snowflakes, but this time we were working on a snack. Again, you're reviewing the facts about snowflakes. You can also sneak in a little bit of math by talking about cylinders and the fact that a snowflake is a hexagon shape because it's 6-sided. And after making this delicious snack, the students can eat and enjoy. So that was video 1 and video 2. Now this is video 3, and the focus is going to be on the season of winter. So I like to call this one Winter Is. Now, when I'm working on this unit, all things winter, of course, I'm focusing on snowflakes and the facts about winter. And of course, it goes without saying that when you're teaching a season, you're going to be using lots of nonfiction resources like books, maybe some scholastic news or weekly readers, some YouTube videos. But I also want to expand your thinking, and I'm sure you do this too. You can teach those facts about winter also by using fictional stories. When you use different stories, you can build a child's visual idea of winter, and you can squeeze in some rich winter vocabulary as well. Now, I live in North Carolina, so sometimes the students here don't always experience all things winter, so I have to really build a picture for them, and I love to do that with fictional stories. I like to use Max and Maggie in the season of winter. I usually read Max and Maggie in fall, so they're familiar with these characters. Again, they're going to see Max and Maggie doing some really fun winter things that maybe they've never seen or experienced, like skiing. And of course, this one is rich with the feelings when you're having fun with your friends, building a snowman, but then there's the sadness that it's going to melt. So don't forget to take a picture. Those fictional stories are really great resources as well as nonfiction. This one called It's Winter is fantastic. It's very simple and easy to read. Again, more visual ideas for the students about what winter looks like, things they might not think about or have not experienced, like catching snowflakes on your tongue, or instead of building a snowman, maybe you're going to build a snow dinosaur. And I like this one too because it does remind the students that in the season of winter, Christmas, there are holidays that you can focus on. My very favorite fictional winter story to read is Stella, Queen of the Snow. I read both of these stories on my YouTube channel last year, so check those out and enjoy them. I love this story because the main character, Stella, is helping her brother who's never ever seen snow or played in it or done any snowy activities. She's walking him through a snowy day. This is a great way to walk your students through what they can experience when it snows if they have never experienced a large snowfall. So check out some fiction stories, and don't forget winter poetry. Winter poetry, again, is another way to share lots of descriptive vocabulary with your students to help them build the concept of all things winter. This is my favorite winter poem. It's called Winter Morning by Ogden Nash. I'm going to read it because I just love it so much. And I always read it to my students. As I'm reading it, think about the power of the words in this poem that students can really grasp as they're trying to connect winter with things that they know about. Winter is the king of showmen, turning tree stumps into snowmen and houses into birthday cakes and sprinkling sugar on the lakes. Smooth and clean and frosty white, the world looks good enough to bite. That's the season to be young, catching snowflakes on your tongue. Snow is snowy when it's snowing. I am sorry that it's slushy when it's going. I love that poem. Think about the words, how the poem author of this poem described the winter, a winter as clean and white, frosty. It's like sugar. It's can be as thick as birthday cake frosting, and it looks so good you can bite it. Wow, those are words that can really help winter to come alive for your students. So as you're pulling in that nonfiction, don't forget to use poetry and use fictional stories. All right, on to our art project, which is the heart and soul of why I am doing this video. So after I've talked to my students several days about the season of winter, they've been exposed to videos, stories, fiction and non, poetry. Then we're going to be making a list of things that happen in the season of winter. So on my whiteboard or smartboard or whatever you have in your classroom, you're going to get your students together in a group. Let's do some brainstorming. And then as they come up with all things winter, you're going to list it on your board, whether it be a smartboard or a whiteboard or a chart, whatever you have. You're going to list all things winter. And I'm sure if you've exposed them to enough resources, they're going to come up with all kinds of great winter activities. Now, each student is going to be picking and selecting one of those winter activities. So you're going to want them to brainstorm enough for your entire class to be able to select one. I like to get more than my class so they have a variety to choose from. Get ready for this activity by grabbing some paper. Now, if you're like me, I love to prep my art activities way in advance. This way, if you get everything together in advance, you're going to have no downtime in your lessons. You know, time is so precious and valuable. You can't squander it or waste it. If you're running around your classroom trying to find paper or scissors or cut things for your students or get stencils ready, you're going to be losing precious learning minutes. So go ahead and get these things ready. Plain paper. You're going to want to cut some pre-cut sections of paper. And I made several years ago these little hot cocoa, because you want to warm up in the season of winter with something like hot cocoa or soup. So I pre-made these stencils so that the students can trace. They're going to be tracing and making step number 1, a cup of hot cocoa. And then in step number 2, they're going to be placing in their winter is activity, writing an illustration. Okay, so first step, after you've gathered your materials and the students are ready to go, they're going to be tracing. You're going to want to have enough stencils to either have each student to have their own or partners to share. Again, the more stencils and the more prep time that you do, the less downtime in the learning. Things are going to go a lot smoother. So they trace. That is step number one. Step number two, after they trace their hot cocoa mug, you're going to have them get their pencils. I always do this with them. And we talk about the fact that we're going to be making the lip of the mug. We're going to make a big smiley face from corner to corner. And you're going to draw that with them together. You can do it on a document camera or document camera, or you can hold up your paper. Sometimes I've even had to put magnets on my whiteboard, and that way they can see me doing it from corner to corner. Next, I talk about putting the mini marshmallows in. They're going to be doing some rounded squares. I talk about size. The size of the marshmallows are mini, not too many, not too big, not too small. And I draw those in front of my students, and then I let them draw. Finally, they're going to take their white crayon and they're going to fill in, even though the paper's white, I like them to go over with their white crayon, and then they're going to fill in around those mini marshmallows with light brown. And then I have them go back over the brown with their white, so it kind of blurs that brown, makes it look like those marshmallows are melting in the heat of the chocolate. So that's the first part. Very simple, very easy, doesn't take a long time. And then the next thing that they're going to do is they're going to be decorating their mug, but not the whole thing. So this was one that I did a couple of years ago. You're going to want to take that pre-cut piece of paper and hand it to them and let them place it in the center of their mug. And then they're going to trace a line on the top and a line on the bottom. That space in that section is going to remain white and clean. And then they're going to decorate their hot cocoa mug any way they want. They can put smileys. I've got several here. This is the one I started last year for my students. So they're going to go ahead and decorate up. And I usually pause there. That's usually day number 1 with this activity. On day 2, we come back to the drawing board. We get our mugs going. Now, you might be thinking that this second part you could just do in the center, and you could do it. However, if they make a mistake, then they have to start the whole art project over. You're going to know what I'm talking out in just a second as I show you step number 2. Step number 2 is they're going to be selecting their winter is activity. They can either do that the day before or on the second day. Everybody picks their favorite winter activity. Usually there are so many choices that students get to pick. Most students get the activity that they really like. There's holidays, there's sporting activities, there's clothing that they can draw, there's ways to keep warm. So there's so many ideas about things that happen in the season of winter. This is where they're going to be writing and drawing and illustrating. So again, I'm doing this with them. They're going to put that pre-cut piece of paper on their clipboard or their desk, and then everyone's going to start the same way. I model for them. I'm starting up at the left. I always tell my students, you want to start at the top because then you can work your way down. You know, young writers sometimes write big. They might need more than the top line. If they start down at the bottom, they're going to run out of space, or in the middle, they're not going to be able to illustrate. So I'm always modeling, and I write for them, winter is. I model that out. As I'm writing, I'm talking about starting at the left side of your paper, going from left to right, spacing. And then, of course, after everyone's writing winter is, that's what's uniform about everyone's work. Then they're writing their unique winter choice activity. And so I'm going to be modeling my choice, which I'll do for them. And I usually do the same one. It's usually one that they wouldn't pick. And I'll talk to them about the fact that as they're writing, and they can look at the board. I'll have all of their ideas on the board already pre-written so they can copy the correct spelling, and that way there's not this struggle with how you spell things. Again, that's going to help less downtime, less you having to go around and spell for the students if this is an activity that you want them to spell correctly, of course, because they're going to be displaying it or showcasing it in the hall. That's what I like to do. So winter is, and then I'm going to model what my favorite thing about winter is. And of course, this is one that I did several years ago. I usually do the same one every year. I do it in front of the students. This is one that was completed already. And then after I write winter is feeding the birds, because I definitely love to feed the birds in the season of winter, I talk to them about the fact that when they write winter is in their completion, if they run out of space, they can come right up under. So after they write winter is, then I direct them to draw their line. Don't draw your line until you've already written, and that way you know where to put the line. And then if you need more space, you know where to come right up under the word winter and continue writing as needed, and then draw that second line. That way the line will be just the right space. This is a good way to help them because their visual spatial, young writers, sometimes is a little bit off. So that's a great way to help them to be able to write and the things look readable and neat. I always then illustrate, and I love to illustrate in front of my students because I always make mistakes. And I like to show them that even though I'm a teacher, I'm an adult, I make mistakes too, but I'm not going to give up as a person that's drawing and illustrating. I'm going to use my handy dandy pencil and my eraser machine if I need to erase. It's okay to make mistakes. So I'm illustrating and then I'm modeling how I'm going to put color on my little mini picture. And then finally, the final step is to put part 1 and part 2 together. Now, as I stated before, you do have that white section. Okay, you can do this. They can actually write in that section if they want and illustrate and save a piece of paper. However, if they make a mistake here, then they have to start the whole thing over. So I always just like to do it on a separate little piece of paper and then they glue it on. However, whatever works for you as a classroom teacher, this is the way I've always done it. So that just works for me. And this, again, is something that I would display in the hall after we're finished. The students get to be proud of their artwork. They've learned lots of facts and they've gotten lots of visual on what winter is all about. And then they get to share it with the whole school by displaying it in the hall. So again, this is a great way to close up your unit on the season of winter. All right, I hope you get to use this activity and some of the others that I have shared with you in this winter activities series. I hope you get to use these in your classroom with your students and display them at your school too. All right, I'm going to close this video, and as always, until our next video, have a good one.